Okay, so Eoin, you've gotten us a piece of work that you're actually working on at this moment, and you're going to start the inking process.
Yeah, exactly. This is the fun part. This is like Christmas for me because basically all the decisions, or 99% of the decisions, have been made during the penciling process. So this is for me the chance for me to just really basically have some fun.
Tell us what's happening in this frame. It's a sort of a space saga.
Yeah, it's an attack on a space station by a certain faction, shall we say?
Okay. And that particular spaceship, is that a goodie or a baddie in that?
The one I'm doing right now is the goodie.
Right.
Although this story does blur the lines between what actually a goodie and a baddie sort of really is.
Yeah.
Which is one thing that's actually very funny about it. It's a great script. Also written by a Cork man, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's the first time, as far as we're both aware, that an all Cork team will have worked on a 2000 AD story, so it's fairly momentous.
Well, what's his name?
Rory McConville is his name. Really,
Cool.
really talented up-and-coming writer, based in Vancouver at the moment. I've always said that comics, at least the kind of comics that I do, is a very deliberate kind of an art, but so everything, all the decisions are sort of nailed down, but occasionally I can find myself improvising a little bit when it comes to the inking, but I generally stick very much to the pencil.
Yeah.
I reverse that out in Photoshop, those strokes, just to...
so they'll look like white stripes.
Exactly.
Brilliant.
I just want to kind of counterpoint to that very strong axis of the curve, and also it's a way of leading.
But just when you were doing those, I was getting a bit nervous. I was waiting
Yeah.
It's a big splatter.
It's a way of leading the eye from this panel, which I've covered, down to the next one. So much of comics, like any... composing any picture, it's about it leading the eye as much as anything else, trying to make the viewer look where you want them to look, to direct the eye, as it were.
Well, it's a bit like film directing, isn't it?
Absolutely.
In some ways. And you worked as a storyboard artist as well.
I did for a good few years, yeah. I've done some film concept work as well. Certainly something I'd like to do more of in the future. A very famous Scottish comic artist, Frank Quitely, said when you're working on a film, you're just one tiny cog in a very big machine, whereas when you're drawing a comic, you're sort of, you've got sole creative, artistic control. Just make sure I'm not putting my hand in any of the wet patches.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because that's what happens to me most often. Little smudges, but usually they're just small mistakes. So.
And as well as the dip pen, you use a sort of a brush pen as well, don't you?
Yeah, it's called a Pentel Japanese marker brush. I'm just using it now to demonstrate.
Right.
It's got a very flexible tip. It's formed with real bristles, unlike a lot of so-called brush pens, which are actually just solid rubber, which is fine, but it just doesn't offer the... You can see the enormous range of thicknesses.
Yeah, that's lovely. You could just show us how the dip pen nib fits into the pen holder.
Absolutely. There are wooden ones. I like these particular ones because they're plastic. The wooden ones they have a varnish that comes off with age, so I like this particular one. It just slots in like this, and you have a nice secure housing. And that's basically it, really.
Yep.
Comics is a very kind of a punchy medium.
Yeah.
If it isn't punchy, it tends to look sort of flat.
And the kind of strokes you're using, you're doing them quickly, and they have a lot of energy about them.
Exactly, energy. That's the word. Exactly. There has to be an energy to make it pop.